What's going on, guys? Welcome back. In our last video, we went over how to upload comments. In this video, we're going to be going over how to fetch comments and how to add the rest of the functionality we need here with things like adding our profile image view for our currently logged in user, clearing out the comment text after we hit post, and all of that good stuff. So let's go ahead and get started with what we need to do to start fetching comments. So we are going to want to go back to this comments view, guys, and we are going to want to first off start by replacing what's in this for each loop with our actual comments. So we're going to say viewModel.comments, and then we're going to want to inject a comment object into our comment cell. So we're going to want to go here and say like let comment be a comment, just like that. And you guys are going to notice this is going to throw an error. So we're going to want to create a mock comment. So what I actually like to do, guys, is create this as an extension for my developer preview stuff. Before we were creating like extensions on the object themselves. I don't really like doing that. That was really just for, the beginning stuff with what we were doing with this course. So let's go ahead and create an extension on our preview provider so that we can get access to all of this mock data. So let's just go ahead and create a Swift file. This isn't going to take too long. We're going to say developer preview. And we're going to create an extension on developer preview, but first we need to import Swift UI. Preview provider. And then we're going to make a class here called developer preview. And we're going to make a shared instance. And then we're just going to make a comment here. Just make this stuff, whatever, test comment for now, timestamp, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, so that looks good. Let's go and import Firebase so we can get access to our timestamp. And then on the preview provider, guys, this is where we're going to be able to get access to this comment. So we're going to create a static var dev, which is going to be a developer preview, and we're going to return developer preview.shared. So we're going to go ahead and see how we can use this now. So back in our comment cell, we can go here and say comment dev.comment. Pretty cool, right? So now we have some mock data in here, guys. Now we can start actually replacing all of this hard-coded stuff with real comment data. So for example, our comment text here is going to be comment.comment text. And here, we're going to make this an optional user and return our comment.user. So this is going to throw some errors in some places because it's optional now. Another thing I want us to fix here, guys, is making the circular profile image view allow this user input guide to be optional. It's going to make it so we just don't have to wrap this up in an if-let statement every time we want to use it. So let's go and jump into this guy and do a quick refactor on that as well. So we need to say var user, and it's going to be optional. And then the only thing we need to change is adding a question mark there, and everything else will function exactly the same. So that looks really good. Now let's go back to our comment cell, and that error should go away. Yep, and now we can just say user dot username, but we have to add a question mark there because that's optional, and we can just give that a default value to solve that problem. And we're going to come back to this timestamp stuff, guys. We're going to make an extension to figure out our timestamps for both our comments and our posts, so we'll come back to that. What I want us to do now is go back to our comments view and see if everything is looking good. We need to actually inject that comment in here now. So that should be as easy as that to fix because now we're looping through the viewModel.comments. We have access to each comment in the for each loop, and we pass that along to our comment cell. So that's looking really good, guys. Now, we just need to go over how to get our user's profile image dropped in there. So we're going to replace this mock user with our actual user data. So to do this, guys, I'm just going to go up to the top here and say private var current user. And we can return user service dot shared. Ooh, we don't have that. Okay, we can come back to that in a little bit. Basically, guys, we do need to just get our currently logged in user set up there. And we'll go over how to do that later. What I want us to go over how to do right now is how to actually fetch these comments. So let's go back to our comment service and add another function to fetch our comments. So we're going to say static func fetch comments async throws, and this is going to return an array of comments. So we just need to reach out to this location in the database and say get documents and then map them as our comments and return them, right? So we're going to say let snapshot equal, and you guys can literally just copy and paste this whole thing and then say dot get documents. And then what we can do from there, guys, is just say, ooh, we need our post ID. Okay, so I think, guys, because we need this post ID in multiple places in this service, what we want to do is actually inject that post ID into the service as an initialization parameter. So I want to say let post ID be a string, and then we can delete that as an input. And now we have access to it on a class level. Okay, so we need to actually say static let post ID, I believe. Actually, no, we don't want this to be static anymore because we are going to be initializing the service with something. So we can remove the static keyword from these functions. All right, so that's looking good. Now, guys, we just need to actually return these comments from this function here. So we're going to say return snapshot.documents.compactMap 0. We need to say try 0.data as comment.self. And that should be all we need to do. Yep. All right, so now in our view model, guys, we're going to call this fetch comments function, and we need to fix some errors that we're going to have with our comment service as well. So back in our view model, you guys notice that we're calling this comment service.upload comment. We're not going to be able to do this anymore because this is no longer a static function. So we actually have to initialize our comment service. So here, guys, I'm going to say private let service be of type comment service. And this is going to show you guys how you can initialize something like a service in a class and then use that service throughout the class like this. Then we're just going to say self.service equals our comment service. And we just need to pass in our post.id, just like that. And then we'll replace this with service.uploadComment. And we can remove that post ID now. So this is much cleaner to me, right, guys? The service needs that post ID because this comment is linked to a post, obviously, and that's how we can inject that post ID into the service and then use the service throughout the class. So now let's write a function to fetch our comments. So I'm going to say func fetch comments, and we can just say self.comments equals try await service.fetch comments. And let's see. We need to make this async throws. And then we can just create a task in our initialization. Try await fetch comments. And we should be good to go. So guys, let's run this and see what happens. So if everything goes to plan, we should see our comments showing up in that view once we launch the comments sheet. So go here. And we can see here that we're getting that test comment back. We don't have any user data associated with the comment yet. We have to fetch the corresponding user data using the comment owner UID. But first off, guys, we need to go and make this a main actor function, right? Okay, so that's looking good. Now let's go over how we can actually fetch the user data for all of these comments and update them, guys. So really quickly, let's actually just go ahead and run this code one more time to make sure that that purple error is going away and that we're not having any threading issues here. So let's go ahead here and we can see that that goes away, guys, because basically the reason that was happening, if that's not clear to anyone at this point, is because this function for fetching our comments starts happening on a background thread. And then when we try to update our UI by saying self.comments equals this, what comes back from the result of that function call, we need to go back and make sure we update that on the main thread and escape that background thread. But anyway, now we can go over how to actually fetch our comment user data, guys. So we're going to make a private function here called func fetch user data for comments, async throws, and we are going to be looping through each one of these comments and just fetching the user for it and updating the comments array. So we're just going to go and say for I in 0 up to comments.count, and then we need to make sure we say let comment equal comments I, just like that. And then we are going to say let user equal try await user service dot fetch user with UID comment dot comment owner UID. So we need to make sure that that's the user ID we're passing into our function to get the user, guys. And then we're going to say comments I dot user equals that user. So that looks good. And then, guys, make sure you call this after. We're going to say try await fetch user data for comments. And like I said, make sure you call this after we fetch the comments, guys. So basically what's going to happen here with our asynchronous code is we are going to wait for the results of this function to come back before we go and try to fetch the user data for the comments. If you guys did this out of order, your comments array would be empty. Your comments array would be empty, sorry, and you wouldn't actually, none of this would actually execute, right? So you have to make sure that you actually have comments in your comments array in order to loop through them and fetch the user information for each one of those comments. So here, what we're doing is we are awaiting the result of this fetch comments function. It's going to store the result in our comments array, and then we go and try to fetch the user data for our comments. So guys, let's go ahead and just run this one more time, and we should be able to see that our comments are coming back with the user data now, and that looks really good, right? So we are once again publishing from a background thread, and that's because we are accessing the comments array up here, or sorry, right here, which is a published property, and we are fetching the user on a background thread, guys. So you can do one of two things. You can also make this a main actor function, or we can just remove this and make this entire class a main actor. And let's just go ahead and run this again. And let's see if that error goes away. And guys, we notice that that goes away, and that's all looking really, really good, right? So next up, guys, just to clean this up a little bit, there's a couple things we got to do that I want us to just handle in this video. The first one is really easy, right? So when I upload a comment, I want to clear out that comment text, right? So I'm going to say test comment 2 and hit post, right? And then another thing we're going to want to do, guys, is insert that comment at the top of the list. So not only do we want to wipe out that comment text, we want our comment that we just added to show up immediately here. So you guys will notice if I dismiss that and then launch that again, that everything looks good, right? But except for the fact that we want the most recent to be up at the top. So 3 things we got to do. We got to make sure our comments are ordered by the most recent at the top. We have to remove the comment text once we hit post, and then we have to insert our comment immediately. So clearing out the text is going to be the easiest part, right? So what we can do is go back to our comments view, and let's see, where are we uploading this comment? Right here. So basically, guys, all we need to do is after that comment uploads, we can just say comment text equals blank. It's very important to make sure that you don't do this before you'd call this function. And that's because if you wipe out the comment text before you call this function, it's going to send up a blank comment, right? So you want to make sure that you capture the comment text before you try to wipe it out. So that's going to solve problem number 1. So let's just go ahead and test that out. Then the next problem we're going to solve is sorting our comments by time. So we're going to go here. Let's make test comment 3. Post. Right? So we notice that wipes out pretty much immediately. And we see test comment 3 showing up. So you guys notice that these are out of order, right? So the next problem I want us to solve is going to be in our comments service. And all we need to do, guys, is when we are fetching these, we just need to say .order by descending. And we are going to order this by our timestamp field, and descending is going to be true, I believe. So let's go ahead and run this one more time. And let's see if that's working. So yep, it's 3, 2, and then the original comment. So that's looking really good. And guys, in another video, we are going to fix this timestamp label. We need to fix that for our post as well, but that's going to come in another video. The last thing I want us to solve, guys, is injecting our comment into the list right away, right? So basically, when you make a comment, you want it to show up at the top of the list. You don't want to have to dismiss that and launch that comment sheet again. And there's a couple different ways of doing that. So we can inject it manually, or we could execute another fetch comments call, right? I prefer to inject it manually or inject it locally. So just literally inserting our comment into this comments guy manually, as opposed to calling another fetch comments, because that's going to refetch all of these comments, right? And we don't really need to do that just to get our most recent comment showing up. So when we upload the comment, guys, you guys are going to notice we already have access to it. So what we can do is just say comments self.comments.insert new element, which is our comment at 0. And we can run our code. And let's go ahead and say test comment 4. Post. And you guys notice that it injects it right away. And let's dismiss it and launch it again. It only had the user data once we relaunched it, right? So that's because this comment right here doesn't actually have like a user object on it yet, right? So we need to go over how we're going to do that. And I think I'm going to leave that for the next video, guys. Basically, we need to add some functionality on our user service so that we can always have access to our currently logged in user. And that's going to wrap up the final pieces of our comments view, right? We need to be able to get access to our current user to pass in their profile image URL here so this can load here. And then when we insert the comment, we also want our user data to load immediately. If you guys don't want to do it like that, you can literally just call the fetch comments guy again. So after you upload the comment, you can literally just say fetch comments. We can say try await. And this is just showing you another way of doing things. This is perfectly fine. So let's see, test comment 5. And you guys notice that it inserts it at the top of the list. But once again, the drawbacks of this are that, we have to execute another API call. But the drawbacks of the other thing are that we are performing like an insert operation and that we have to go through the trouble of doing this locally. And also there's some error handling that you have to do, right? So basically, if your upload for your comment fails, but you've injected it into that list, that could cause like a mishap or mismatching between what you have locally versus what you have in the database. So there's some error handling that you need to introduce there. So it is a little bit more complex when you want to do things locally. But this is way easier. We can see that we've already, achieved the functionality we want with this fetch comments guy being called after we upload it. But this is going to be a little bit more costly on the back end. So it really just depends on what you guys want and what you prefer there. But that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. In the next one, we're going to go over how we can make some changes to our user service so that we can have access to our currently logged in user, which is going to help us out in a lot of other places in the app as well. So get excited for that. We'll see you there. Peace.